students, once again, I am your chemistry teacher. Our topic for today will be on electrolysis. Electrolysis for SS2. This electrolysis will lead us to the ionic theory, as you can see in your scheme of work. So we start by definition. Electrolysis, that we rightfully define, electrolysis is defined as the passage of electricity through an electrolyte with a resulting decomposition at the electrodes. The reason why I underline passage of electricity through an electrolyte, they are the key words you must use. Resulting decomposition at the electrodes, also a key word. For instance, if you are writing it in WAEC, if this thing has 3 marks, as it normally has, assuming that this is 3 marks, they will be looking at you to mention passage of electricity. They might say this one has 2 marks, this one resulting decomposition at the electrodes 1 mark. So if you mention these things, decomposition, you mention electrolyte. Electrolyte is a key word. You might just say electrolyte, electricity, and electrodes. All these ones carry 1 mark to make it the 3 marks. So the passage of electricity through an electrolyte with a resulting decomposition at the electrodes is what is called electrolysis. We are going to, as we go on, we are going to see the meaning of electrolyte. We are going to see the meaning of decomposition at the electrodes. We are going to see the meaning of electrodes as we go on. Now, terms used in electrolysis. Before we go into details in electrolysis, we are going to give you some terms. As we go on, we'll be mentioning these terms from time to time. So, I will tell you about the terms so that when we mention them, you will know what they mean. Terms used in electrolysis. Number 1, conductor. Conductor. From your junior class, you understand that conductor is anything that allows heat or electricity to pass through them. Example, metals. Example, any metal object. They are like the iron you see in your class. All of them, they allow heat and electricity to pass through them. Another term you are going to see is non-conductor. Non-conductor. Non-conductor is opposite of conductor. Is any substance that do not allow heat or electric current to pass through them. Example of this non-conductor: plastic, dry wood, etc. is a non-conductor. Then another term that we are going to see when we will be going through this thing is number 3 is weak and strong. Weak and poor conductor. Weak and poor conductor. They are those substances which contain both ions and molecules and partially allow electricity to pass through them. I say that weak and poor conductor, they are those substances which partially contain both ions and molecules and partially allow electricity to pass through them. Example of this is poor and weak conductor. Example, wet cloth. Wet cloth. Another example is ethanoic acid. Ethanoic acid, etc. Then we are still going to come across number 4, electrolytes. Electrolytes. Just like we mentioned during the definition of electrolysis. What are electrolytes? They say electrolyte is a substance which, when in solution or in molten form, allows electricity to pass through them. Just like in the class, you might see the table salt we are using. If you pass electric current through the table salt when it is solid, there will be no current will not pass through it. But when you dissolve it in water, the table salt will allow electric current to pass through it. Therefore, at that moment, that table salt is no longer just table salt. Instead, it is an electrolyte. So any substance which, when in solution or molten form, allows electric current to pass through them is called an electrolyte. Then, when this happens, when electric current passes through electrolyte, it will form what is called a resulting decomposition, because the ions contained inside the electrolyte will dissociate, as we're going to see when we go to ionic theory. Dissociate, and then there will be a decomposition at the electrolytes. So this is another term. Then another term we're going to see while studying electrolysis is strong electrolyte, because there are strong and weak electrolytes. Strong electrolytes. A strong electrolyte, they ionize completely in solution. They ionize. Underline. If you don't understand the meaning of ionize, you ask me a question. They ionize completely in solution or in molten form because it contains ions. They contain ions. Underline the word ions in case you don't understand what I mean by ions. They contain ions only. Then another term we're going to see is weak electrolyte. Weak electrolyte. What are weak electrolytes? Weak electrolytes, they ionize partially. When in solution or in molten form because they contain molecules and ions. They ionize partially when in solution because they contain ions and molecules in them. Example of they contain both ions and the molecules. Then another term as we are going on, another term that we are going to see while studying electrolysis, number 7, is the non-electrolytes. Non-electrolytes. What are non-electrolytes? Non-electrolytes, they do not conduct or allow electric current to pass through them. They do not ionize at all because they contain only molecules. Non-electrolytes, they do not ionize at all. They do not ionize at all because they contain only molecules. I don't know if you know what molecules are. So you ask me a question or what are ions, what are molecules, or you go and search. Then another question they may ask you in an exam. Another question they may come like this. They may say, differentiate between conductors and electrolytes, because two of them look alike. They allow electric current to pass through them. This other one allow electric current to pass through them. Now let us see difference between conductor and electrolyte before we go on with the terms used in electrolysis. Conductor and electrolytes. Differences between conductor and electrolyte. Let us do it in a tabular form. To do it in a tabular form, conductors, electrolytes. First of all, we can start with their definition, or you can start Number one, conductors, they may be solid. They may be solid or liquid to qualify as a conductor. But when it comes to electrolytes, they must be in molten form. Must be in molten form or in solution. That is one difference. Then another difference between conductors and the electrolyte is the conductors do not decompose. They do not decompose by the passage of current. Number two, they do not decompose. They do not decompose by passage of current or electricity. These ones, number two, they decompose. They decompose when current pass through them. Then another difference between conductors and electrolyte is a conductor may be an element or a compound. May be an element or a compound, while an electrolyte must be a compound. While an electrolyte must be a compound. So these are the three major differences between conductors and electrolytes. Then you know they have similarities. Their similarities is that two of them can conduct electricity. But depending on the nature of their conduction, a conductor can conduct electricity whether it's solid or in liquid form. But electrolyte can only conduct electricity when it is in molten form. The same thing happens. This one do not decompose. The conductors do not decompose when electricity passes through them, while the electrolytes decompose when electricity is passed through them. 8. Number 8 will be electrodes. Electrodes. We mentioned it during the definition of electrolysis. Electrodes. What are electrodes? They say they are metals which are inserted in an electrolytic cell. They are metals which are inserted in an electrolytic cell. They are just like metals, electrolytic cells. You insert them inside it, and these things they allow electric current to pass through them. They are charged. Electrodes, they are metals which are inserted in an electrolytic cell. Example of this electrode, we can have a copper electrode, we can have nickel electrode, we can have carbon electrode, we can have a lot of them, aluminium electrode, we can have zinc electrode, etc. Everything, as long as it is metal, it can serve as an electrode. So they are inserted. So then under this electrode there are two. If it is positively charged electrode, it is called an anode. When it is positive. But if it is negatively charged, it is called a cathode. If it is negative, this one is positive. So when a positively charged electrode is called the anode, while the negatively charged electrode is called the cathode. Now we are continuing. Let us also look at what ions are. What are ions? Number 9. Ions. I mentioned ions when I was defining electrolysis. You see, they are charged radicals. Ions are charged radicals. They are charged radicals. Or in chemistry, we say that ion is a group of atoms which can exist on its own and still contain the properties of the atom. For example, we say sodium, for instance, a sodium atom, Na, has 11 electrons. But sodium ion, Na, do not have 11 atoms. It has 10 because one has been lost. So a sodium ion is positively charged while sodium atom is neutral charged. So again, then ions, they are two. When they are positively charged, the ions, when they are positively charged, they are called cations. When they are positively charged, they are called cations, positive. When they are negatively charged, they are called anions, negative. Then, for instance, if we say examples of ions, anions and cations, we're going to see them as we go on. Examples of anions. Okay, let me say cations first. Cations and anions. Okay, and under cations we have calcium ion, magnesium ion, aluminium ion, sodium ion. I'm not arranging it in order. Potassium ion, zinc ion, lead ion, then copper ion, mercury ion, Hg+, silver ion, Ag+, gold ion, Au+. Then example of anions, negatively charged. These ones are positively charged. These ones are negatively charged. Example of anions are fluorine ion, chlorine ion, bromine ion, iodine ion, triazosulfate 5 ion, SO3 minus, tetraozosulfate 6 ion, triazonitrate 5 ion, hydroxide ion, ETC. There are many of them. This one, ETC. These are examples of positively charged ions and negatively charged ions. So when a metal, how does ions form? When a metal loses electron or gains electron, it becomes an ion. Just like I said in sodium, a sodium metal, it has 11 electrons in its outermost shell. When it loses one electron, sodium metal becomes a sodium ion, that is positive. For example, another example like chlorine, element number 17. Chlorine, it has 17 electrons. Chlorine can become a chlorine ion. It will now have 16 electrons, Cl minus, because it has, it will now become 18 electrons because it has accepted one electron to make it an ion. So, having done this, these are the terms we are going to see while we study electrolysis. So, let us now, the next thing we are going to talk about before we go into electrolysis proper is the ionic theory of migration. Ionic theory of migration. The ionic theory of migration, what is it saying? It was propounded by a scientist called Arrhenius in 1887. Arrhenius in 1887. It's just a simple something. It's telling us that Arrhenius was telling us that when compounds when they are dissolved in solution, the ions dissociate. For instance, if we dissolve something like sodium chloride in water, that this sodium chloride, when it dissolves in water, that the ions in sodium will dissociate into Na plus Cl minus. Then the water itself, H2O, will also dissociate into He plus OH minus. This is dissociation equation. They will dissociate. That's when they are in molten form. Then another example of this, what ionic theory of migration is telling us that when they are dissociate, when there is presence of an electrode, the positive ions will migrate to the negative, while the negative ions will migrate to the positive electrode before they were being discharged. So, because of time, we are going to continue from there in our next class. But I want you to go home and read about the ionic theory of migration. So, I will come back next time and we'll ask questions. Thank you.